Hello YouTube, Scott Levin coming to you from the Naval and Servicemen's Park here in downtown Buffalo. We have a very special guest today, Staff Sergeant David Bellavia, who is now, of course, the newest Medal of Honor recipient, Buffalonian, Western New Yorker. We're proud to have him here today on Get to Know. Thanks, David.
Thank you for having me.
Appreciate you. Glad to have you here. A lot of people already know who you are. They're familiar with who you are because of all the attention and the award that you got. First and foremost, tell people you are Buffalo born and raised.
I was born in Children's Hospital, and I was raised out in Orleans County, and got married and started a family in Genesee County. And so, yeah, I mean, Buffalo is a part of, I get a chance to go all around the country.
Right.
And it's so amazing to see how Buffalo's, our mojo's back.
Yeah.
It's like they're talking about the Bills, they're talking about the city, they're talking about the people. It's
Talking
cool.
about you also.
But it's cool to represent an area that is really something we should all be proud of.
Right. So what town did you grow up in down there in Orleans?
I grew up in Lindenville, New York.
Lindenville.
Right off Lake Ontario.
Do you go back there often to visit?
I just went back.
For Thanksgiving?
I went back just to see the school and the old, see the new generation come through. Lindenville's such a small town. We have two recipients of the Medal of Honor. We have a World War II guy, Vossler, who was on a B-17. And from Iraq, and so to have two guys from that small town. In Medina, we have a recipient that lost his life. Lieutenant Butts lost his life in Normandy. So growing up, veterans were everywhere here.
Tell me about your family. You're married, kids. Tell us about that.
I have 3 children. I'm the youngest of 3 boys. My father was a dentist. 37 years was a dentist out in Medina, New York. So. All my brothers have, PhDs and masters,
right.
and I'm super proud of them. I chose the military as my path.
So let's talk first about what was your childhood like as a child?
The best childhood in the world. Absolutely perfect. My parents loved me. My parents told me they loved me. Surrounded by the opportunity to fail. The opportunity to dream and to work towards goals and whatnot. I had 2 great parents, but more importantly, I had a great community to grow up in. And great high school. Just a really blessed life.
So as you got older, you went to high school there.
That's right.
And after high school, what did you do?
I went to college. I went out to New Hampshire and studied biochemistry and tried to do pre-med with a theater minor.
And what happened with that?
Well, I was
theater minor. Really?
I was cleaning machine guns pretty soon after that. So show you how successful that went. But no, it was just I was always attracted to teams and being in a small area of Western New York. Growing up in the '90s with the Bills,
right.
Never quit.
Years, right.
Yeah, but it was like we had this chip on our shoulder in Western New York. Nobody expected us to. They always talked about our weather and judged us, and it was great to just be in a group of everyone who starts off the same and meet people from different backgrounds, different ways of life, and just do things together as a team. I became really attracted to that.
So when did you decide, and how did you decide that you wanted to join the military?
So I was home from school, college, and these 2 guys broke into my parents' house. Mom and Dad were home. My mom just had surgery, and so my dad was taking care of her. And these guys it was a home invasion. It was pretty horrible. And I just remember wanting to defend my family, wanting to do what I should have done, and just being a little bit naive and not really ready for the big world. And my dad looked at me in a way that really kind of brought a lot of inventory, And so I just said, hey, I got to go, toughen up. And United States Army seems like the best opportunity to do it. There was no war going on. Kosovo was the big deployment.
Yeah, you were in Kosovo first before
Kosovo,
you went to
right. There were the towers were up. Everything was great. And then that little experiment of trying to better myself and go home and be more responsible, it totally changed on September 11th for me.
What happened to you inside?
I just, I remember, watching those guys jump off that building and just thinking, we are at war and every generation is tested. And in Western New York, we've seen that, how many residents stood up and volunteered to go. I was in the Army, so I figured this was my calling, and I just wanted to be prepared for whatever the Army needed.
So you were in Kosovo at the time, and then 9/11 happens, and how long after 9/11
Yeah.
do you get called to Iraq?
So I'm in Buffalo, New York as a recruiter.
Okay.
What happened was my son was born with some medical issues,
Mm-hmm.
and they kept him here at Children's, great hospital, world-class hospital. And so the Army's basically like, hey, now we're at war. You have to decide: go home, take care of your kid,
Mm-hmm.
or leave your family and go for 3 years on what's called an all others tour. I chose to take the tour away from them, and toughest decision, but also the best decision I've ever made. We did Kosovo for 9 months, got extended there, went on into Iraq, and just at the perfect time for everything to. We were needed. We were valued out there. We felt a sense of purpose every day because of the fighting was so intense.
So you get to Iraq, you're in the Army, you had some time in Kosovo, and you're in an all-out war there. I mean, there's bullets flying.
In Kosovo, it was kind of no real danger. Just
Right.
Get hurt and practice for the real fight. Iraq was just it was just you could just sense you get this spidey sense of situational awareness. What's not right? You start to see mothers just throw their children over walls. Panic in their face, but everything's quiet. Something's about to happen, and it always does. And but the part for me was just being around men, young men. I was older. I was in my late 20s. These were 19, 20-year-old kids, and I just looked at them like they were my children. They were my sons.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You were much older than
Much
they were.
older, and
Right.
gone through different cycles of life, and I just really
Took a leadership role.
but more out of love, just I really cared about them, and I still do. And they were doing some incredible things that we never thought anyone would ever hear about. You just kind of do your job and think you just did your job. But with the embedded journalists and everyone covering these big battles, our unit started to get a lot of attention and notoriety, and we just kept rolling until we won.
You were in Fallujah.
Right.
I believe it was the second
battle.
Second battle of Fallujah. And you were there to really clear out Fallujah.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit different than the missions we had before. I mean, it was always military-age males with weapons are the threat, and you put those threats down. But in Fallujah, that population, it's about the size of Tampa Bay, Florida.
Right.
They cleared everyone out, men, women and children. Who, if you were there to fight, and a handful thousand decided to stay back. And it was basically, just anything anything moving goes down, and so it's a totally different mindset to get young people focused for, because complacency. You do the same job every single minute, and nothing happens, and then that 1% when it does, you've got to maintain that focus through a lot of long days, and you're tired, and you're hungry, and you're wounded. You just got to keep pushing through until it's over.
I don't want to sugarcoat it also for the folks at home, but you were there was grave danger. Bullets were flying. You had hand-to-hand combat. This was, obviously because of the award, this was above and beyond what you probably ever thought, coming out of Lyndonville, you ever would be involved in.
Very true. Never in a million years would have expected that. At the same time, what makes you, we talk a lot about peer pressure when it brings us down.
Right.
Peers make you smoke cigarettes and do stupid things. Peers also make you do incredible things. It's if you surround yourself with outstanding people, it is far easier to do the right thing because everyone's just waiting on their turn. On that day in that house, it was my turn. I was the only guy on one side of the wall, and everyone else was in trouble, and it was, there was really no choice.
It was quite a battle. You can read about it also in one of David's books. It's House to House, written by David Bellavia. I haven't read it yet, but I am going to read that. And I know you're working on another one also. So you're there, you have this incredible battle, the second battle of Fallujah. You and your men, you survive it. You're bleeding red, white, and blue, and you come home. And what do you come home to?
It's a really strange thing when you just your gift, your award is really just to be able to be home. I just remember, I want to see a Bills game. I want to, see a fall in Western New York. I want to have a coffee on a cold morning.
Right.
I want
The simple things.
I want to do all the things that I just sat around and just saw happen every day and just thought, that's what we do. It's no big deal. It's the biggest of deals. Normalcy is the biggest of deals. And I never in a million years thought, any of this would be happening right now.
Well, you had won the Silver Star. I know that award. You come back and you're working, and you had a little idea, hey, I might try politics. You tried a couple times to run for Congress. It wasn't successful, but you said, I want to give back to my community.
My whole thing is that whenever we're told you can't do something, who are you? You're the son of a dentist. You're just a soldier.
Right.
What are you bringing to the game? What are you bringing to the table? I was like, I don't care how rich you are, and I don't really care what your background is. I'm going to stay the course. And, if you're going to beat me, you're going to beat me the old-fashioned way.
Right.
But I'm certainly not going to back down from that. So I spent a good 10 years trying to, tell, the residents here that I'm one of them. I can work with the other side. I could talk to people. I serve with people that don't agree with me.
Right.
But this is who I am. This is what I represent. And, I gave it my best shot and I was unsuccessful. And, part of failure is you don't make excuses.
That's right.
You look your opponent in the eye, shake his hand, and go at it again. Yeah, that's how we're raised out here.
Right, and you also had a career, a lot of folks probably listen to you on the radio here locally too, which you did a great job at. You enjoyed the radio.
I did. I enjoy. To me, it's like the next thing to a firefight. It's
Really?
to complain about the Skajak with a speed limit.
Right.
Is almost as dangerous as
that Fallujah.
There's Fallujah. So no, but I mean, there's so many things about Buffalo that I love to, Southtown, Northtown people are completely different people.
Totally.
They're not the same city. They're not the same. Southtown people can't stand. I mean, the driving, a little snow in the Northtown, we have got to stop.
Right.
The Southtowns, they're going backwards 70 miles an hour on the 400. And it's just, there's this, I just love our community. I love the people and having a chance to laugh with them and be with them for 6 years was a really good opportunity.
So a couple more questions. You find out that you have your Silver Star has been upgraded to the Medal of Honor. When you heard that, who did you hear it from, and what was your reaction?
They called me for months, and I didn't know what it was about. I mean, honestly, when you get a phone call and someone wants to talk about something they happened 15 years ago,
yeah,
you get a little
nervous.
Hey,
sure.
what
I don't really. Let's see if I can remember.
I don't remember Iraq all
Right.
that much, so you need to refresh my memory. So I was a little concerned. Then they assured me that this wasn't a bad thing. So I'd been nominated for the Medal of Honor, been nominated for the Distinguished Service Cross.
Right.
The Silver Star is an incredible honor, and I certainly, was very proud that my unit was represented that way. But, I'm told to wait for a senior member of the DOD. That senior member is the commander-in-chief. And he gets on the phone, and it's like, there's no hide. That's president.
Donald Trump is on the phone. He
Donald
called you.
Trump's on the phone. I'm talking to him, and outside of my show in Buffalo in Amherst during a commercial break. And so I'm like, hey, Mr. You got to wrap this up. I got to,
Get back on the air.
we got
Sorry,
weather,
Mr. President.
We have weather and traffic on the 10, so I got to get back. So no, it was crazy. He, your head just explodes. The other things you don't realize, when you're wearing the award, the Nobel Prize, Pulitzer, there's a lot of awards that are given out that people know of, but the Medal of Honor is recognized. Mm-hmm. Like if you're wearing it and you're walking, everything is going to stop. Mm-hmm. So you can't wear it.
Right,
you also don't wear it at Tim Hortons. You don't, use it to do. But it's a really special thing. It's life changing. And the other thing is that you're constantly bringing up the war to people that maybe would like to get beyond it.
Right.
So it's not all just awesome. Yeah. There's a lot of families that we tell ourselves that time heals all wounds. Mm-hmm. It doesn't. Mm-hmm. And this is real for a lot of gold stars.
So what was it like when you were at the ceremony and it's put around your neck by the president and you had your platoon there to watch and enjoy it with?
Well, first of all, my platoon was there because Western New Yorkers gave money to fly them out there, which I'm eternally grateful for. It was one of the most special moments of my life to share that with them. Normally, the recipient just gets the award and everyone eats shrimp. That's how it goes. The president allowed me to bring my guys up.
I saw that.
And we all kind of did it together, and it was just really emotional. And, sometimes when you're young and you're around people you care about, you're afraid to tell them that you love them. You're afraid to tell them how much you feel. Now that I'm 40, old and gross, I don't have a problem doing that. I don't have a problem telling my guys how much I feel about them, how much I care about them, and that opportunity was pretty special.
How much has your life changed, and how has it changed since you got the Medal of Honor?
I've probably done like 5 selfies with strangers in my entire life, non-family, It's pretty strange. It's you don't really know, like you don't know what to say. It's people, you get recognized, so they want to, and then you're now an ambassador of this war. I mean, there's no other recipient from Iraq. So
you're the sole, for those of you at home, the sole living member of the Army to receive the Medal of Honor.
Now, Western New York has one of the first recipients, Jason Dunham, from Scio, New York.
There's a ship named after him.
He's one of the greatest Americans who's ever lived. He's from Scio. So we've had recipients local, but of course, these guys gave their lives, and so it's very awkward. It's very uncomfortable.
Yeah, I get that.
But at the same time, you're also representing the war, and so the things I like to do before talk about politics or sports or it's not really appropriate today because it's the award that's speaking, and the award shouldn't really care about hydrofracking. Believe it or not, the award doesn't have opinions. The award is just what it is. So,
if the president asked you to serve in any particular role, what would your reaction be if Donald Trump calls you, or another president in a few years? Who knows? What would your reaction be if you get called?
Look, I want to serve my country. I love Buffalo. I don't ever want to be away from Buffalo. And serving my country would be everything. I just don't want it to be about my own ambition. I had a lot of dreams and I had a lot of passion, and I worked really hard to get to where I could be in a position where I could say, judge me for my fruits. This is who I am, and this is what I want to do. And now, unfortunately, it's this is what I did 15 years ago. This award is what has kind of put everything over the top. So doing that inventory, staying grounded, which Western New York does a great job.
Yes, it does.
Great job of humbling you.
Yes, it sure does.
Whenever you think you're
this high.
It's like, hey, Mom, I was on the Tonight Show for 20 seconds, David. Nobody cares. You didn't sit on the couch. Let's move on.
And Johnny Carson wasn't on it either.
But the Bills, they had me in the end zone. Not at center.
That I did see.
Nobody cares, David. Move on. So it's always, you're always kept like this. That's how we treat people. But at the same time, it's the best thing for you. If you get too high, if you get too excited, if you believe you're as smart as your report card, you're in for a world of hurt. So I'm really glad that Buffalo piece of me is still in me and keeping me.
That's what Buffalonians love to hear. A couple more questions. Would you ever think of running for office again here locally?
If the right opportunity came up, I'd love to. But it would just have to be appropriate. It would have to be the right time. It would have to be for the right reason. You're not just doing it because you want to add something to your Wikipedia page. It shouldn't be about you. It should be about why you're serving. And if that is met, I'll take any challenge.
Speaking of your Wikipedia page, it does mention that there's a book that is going to be made into a movie. Tell the folks at home about that.
This has been one of those things that's been going on for a really long time. A bunch of different directors and producers and some big names have been attached to it for a while. It really comes down to
house to house, right?
Yeah, but it's a real story about real people that I love and cared for and still do. And my whole thing is I have no problems making it into a movie, but I want the families to be able to say, this is what happened. This is who my husband, my father was, and this is why and how they died. And if that's not done with that level of respect, I have no interest in, making Starship Troopers.
Final question, David. What is it about Buffalo that you love so much? What is it about this place?
We are the most passionate people any place I've ever been. there's just passion everywhere. We're passionate about our opinions. We're passionate about our food. We're passionate about our driving.
Right.
We're passionate about our teams. And if you're a part of us, you're forever taken care of. I mean, if you are accepted and people say you're not a visitor anymore, you're a member of the community, there's no greater feeling in the world. I'd rather lose with Buffalo than win in any community in the world. Yeah.
That's great. David, thank you so much.
All right.
It's a true honor to have David Bellavia, Medal of Honor recipient, one of our own Western New Yorkers. We're all proud of you. Thanks for coming on Get to Know today. Appreciate it.